Hello Internet, Taliesin here. Welcome to another episode of the Weekly Reset, Taliesin and Evitel's Wondrous Wisdomshow, bringing you all the latest WoW news and knowledge. Do you remember last episode when I said this? Liz, you're making it really difficult to find good shit shows these days, man. Man, come on, it's like kind of on the hallmarks of the show. Can't you just delete Night Elves or something? Just for a bit, just for like a week, just so we can have a good section again. Thanks. Well, today I give you proof, Internet, if ever anyone needed, that someone at Blizzard watches this show, because no sooner had that video been released than they made some calls, pulled together, and delivered us not one, but two of the biggest shit shows of the expansion so far. That's right, boys and girls. It is time to get out the bleach and the rubber gloves, because we are going in deep, and it's nasty in there. Oh, and of course, we'll also be talking about all of the latest on the 10.1.5 PTR2, because I am absolutely certain that we will get a release date for that patch this week. But the two big controversies in question are, of course, the traders' tender data mining and what it means for the future of one of Dragonflight's most innovative and universally loved features, and the Chromie Time Rift quests coming in Fractions of Time 10.15, or rather one particular Chromie quest which has split the community right down the middle and basically just left a sour taste in everyone's mouth for one reason or another. And I'm looking forward to telling you about them both, and also kind of dreading telling you about either. And so the truth is, I just can't decide which one to do first. This is as hard as choosing between my two kids. Probably a bit harder than choosing between my two kids. Actually, that's a good idea. Let's choose between my kids. Aw, look, it's my little boy, I forget his name, who represents the traders' tenders. And this is so stupid. And actually, we're a bit late on reporting it because I held off writing this segment for a few days. So convinced was I that Blizz were going to come out and address this data mining. Just clarify what it's all about and clean up this absolute steaming mess. And they still might at the beginning of this week, who knows? But at the time of writing and recording so far, all we've got to go on is a couple of cryptic dev tweets hinting that they wish they could say something about it, but they can't, and of course, the data mining itself. So, you know the trading post, right? We all love the trading post, the battle pass, which definitely isn't a battle pass, taking all of the good things about a battle pass, bars filled up with gameplay objectives that give you cool cosmetics, but take out the bad bits about a battle pass, like having to pay for it, thus creating a toxic and arguably exploitative, but definitely bad, whatever degenerate FOMO thing, which is why the trading post isn't a battle pass. People get very upset when I call this a battle pass. Anyway, you know that I, like most other people, really love the trading post. And I have always been very liberal with my praise of the trading post, with one caveat, that the currency used to buy the stuff, traders' tender, hereby referred to by its true Earthsea name of tendies, were never sold for cash on the online store. Because in my mind, and that of the majority of the community as far as I can tell, that would undermine the whole trading post is the good stuff about a battle pass without the bad stuff vibe of the feature. So anyway, yeah, Wowhead data mined a bunch of tendies assets which certainly look like they're going to be used to sell tendies for cash on the store. And that was a shit show, obviously. No! And so it begins. There is the Fishing Gem Dust mobile shop. Guess welcome to the pay to pass in WoW. If they put traders' tenders in the shop, we riot. Smiley face. End of an era. This is so sad to see. Trashy. You know, I've been doing this show for about 6 years now, and in that time, as you can imagine, I have read my way through a lot of shit shows on a lot of forums, and what's noticeable about this one is how actually no one is really all that angry, just sad and disappointed and tired, so very tired, and resigned to Blizz spoiling a cool thing for some short-term bucks. And that's probably the most damning thing that anyone can say about it. But I should stress right now, like I say, we still don't actually know, but also they are blatantly store assets, right? I mean, now that doesn't mean that tendies are going to straight up be put on the store for hard cash, and also because of how the store works, therefore in-game gold as well. And actually the possible methods of selling tendies and what these assets could be used for exist on a scale of, in my opinion, best case to worst case scenario. So best case, these aren't intended for the store at all and are just a nice refresh to the in-game graphics, and that would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be lovely. Oh, what's up there? Oh my goodness, look everyone, it's a hopium blimp. I feel like we haven't seen one of those for ages. Hello up there. Oh, look out for the... Okay, yeah, that doesn't seem very likely, really, does it? Okay, well, further along the scale, there's the possibility that these aren't intended for direct sale on the store, but kind of like passive inclusion in various promotions and other store items. As in, there is no option to go ahead and just click on 1,000 tendies and buy them, but from now on, store mounts might be $25, and for that, you'll get the mount and 500 tendies. Special reward for those on a 6-month sub this month, a free transmog ensemble, and 650 tendies. That transmog and tendies bundle is also available to buy, of course. Hey, new Twitch drop this month. Watch 4 hours of your favorite WoW streamer, get a cool old trading card game pet, and 400 tendies. I think overall this is probably the most likely scenario initially. By including the tendies as part of giveaways and included in other store purchases, Blizzard would be using tendies as an incentive for people to spend their money while steering clear of the flat out selling tendies thing. And I think most people would be okay with that. I think I would basically be okay with that, I think. Further along the scale, and definitely on the bad end of the possibilities, in my opinion, would be the Trader's Log top-up option. That being, you again can't really buy tendies directly, but instead you have the option to pay a varying amount to automatically fill out your trader's log for the maximum amount of tenders that you would have got through filling it out normally. And of course, that log reward. This could be justified as allowing people not to miss out on those really desirable trader's logs rewards and reducing FOMO if people can't play much one month. And I think there would be players who absolutely would be in favor of such a system. Like, it's a couple of days before the end of the month, you've only got 750 trading points, and you know you're not going to have time to get any more, or you just can't be bothered doing the 1,000 boat bash, and so there's an in-game option to click a button and buy those extra points. Fill out your bar, but only for the amount that you would have got by playing anyway. So you'll never end up with more than someone who had been filling out the log every month just because you paid. And this could actually explain the sheer amount and range of the asset options too, because there is no way that all of these tendy denominations are intended to go onto the store. Now the question, how would you price that and how retroactive would you make it? Whether you keep a full yearly or season limit like with Valor or whatever, I don't know. And to be honest, I don't really like to think about it because I don't like it as an option. But it is definitely more preferable to the worst case scenario that these are literally just on sale on the store for cash. And you can just buy however many you want, whenever you want. And honestly, I would be surprised if that happens. I'd be amazed if it happens in the next year without some of the other things I've described happening first. But yeah, this is what everyone is afraid of when it comes down to it. Now, you might be thinking, Tally, who really cares about this? It's all cosmetic stuff. It's no worse than stuff appearing on the store anyway. What difference does this really make? And that's a fair point, which I do understand. And, well, quite apart from the fact that I don't really agree with the just cosmetics argument, really, because cosmetics are an established high-level tier of reward in an MMO. But let's pretend that I don't think that, just for the sake of the argument. The reason this would be bad is because the shop already exists. Selling mounts and cosmetics on the shop for real money already happens. The trading post was separate from that, a new and unique way for people to engage with the game and a reward system that wasn't connected to the cash shop. If suddenly it is just another part of the shop, it's that you are losing something unique and good and gaining nothing that you didn't already have. And that's a shame. That's a waste. And for what? Some more money for Blizz? The whole idea of the trading post is that it would blatantly make money for WoW because more people would keep their subs going. And hey, you know what? Maybe these new tendies will just drop from bosses. That would be cool. Yeah, maybe. I need a little break before the next one. So here's a roundup of all the nicer PTR news this week.
Witch Hunter hats in the 10.1.5 data. See, you were all upset about the trading post for a second there, but look how I totally made you feel good again by showing you some awesome Witch Hunter hats. They're so Crucible, so Puritan. Who wouldn't love these? Well, witches, probably. But for everyone else, these are baller. And where do we get them? Who knows, but quite possibly the trading post. And yeah, I know you're thinking about the trading post again now, and that's my bad, sorry, that one's on me. But look at these Deerstalker hats! Look how cool and Sherlock they are. The good season 1 Sherlock, not the bad every other episode of Sherlock. Nah, actually, forget Moffat. These are full Basil Rathbone Sherlock level cool. Yeah, now we're feeling good again. And how will we get these? You know what? We don't know, and let's not think about it too much right now, okay? Also data mined by Wowhead this week, in the Time Lost Horde versus Alliance encounter in the new Dawn of the Infinites Mega Dungeon, you can finally get your hands on the high-res Gore Howl model that has been in the data since Warlords of Draenor. So, you know, it's high-res by the standards of almost 10 years ago, but still, a massive upgrade on the Karazhan version for sure. Will it drop for Horde and Alliance groups in the dungeon though? Alliance fight Grommash Hellscream directly, so it makes sense to drop for them, but Horde groups fight Anduin Lothar, and Grom is nowhere to be seen, so it doesn't make much sense. We don't know yet, and it would be a bit shit if Gore Howl could only drop for Alliance players, but luckily, that's not really a big concern in a world of cross-faction groups. Panic over. Another drop from the dungeon is the Quantum Courser, a mount that upon use, as in clicking to add to your collection, not every time you mount up, becomes a random mount from the past in your collection. So when Mr. GM tried it, it became Midnight, and he has Midnight now. Or at least he would if he's done it in the real game and not the PTR. F's in chat for Mr. GM. I have some questions. 1, can I run this dungeon forever and keep getting this mount and keep using it to eventually fill out all the gaps in my mount collection? 2, exactly what mount can it become? Midnight is a pretty high profile one, which suggests the pool isn't exclusively easy to get mounts, but how extensive is the list? Can I get Invincible? Would I be able to see it if I did? Can I get Gladiator mounts? 3, will what constitutes the past update as time goes on? If I come back and farm Dawn of the Infinites in 11.0, Revenge of the Tuskar, can it give me Dragonflight mounts? And 4, most importantly, can it give me mounts I already have, because no one wants that? And if you're wondering when you'll get a chance to try your luck with the Quantum Courser, it might be a bit sooner than you'd expect. Morgan Day and Stephen Cavallaro clarified in an interview with the For Azeroth podcast this week that whereas usually you'd expect the Dawn of the Infinites to remain exclusively a mythic mega dungeon experience until at least 10.2, actually the instance will be made available as 2 queuable heroic dungeons as early as patch 10.1.7, a decision that was made partly because of the important story tied to the encounter, but also just for flat-out accessibility. Giving everyone a playable version of the dungeon early on supposedly means they can tune the mega mythic version to be fairly difficult, which is something a lot of people want after a surprisingly short raid tier. Also, I just like saying mega mythic dungeon. Mega mythic dungeon. Mega mythic dungeon. Wow, what a whole bunch of fun good news. I'm pretty sure nothing can spoil your mood now.
The Time Rift daily quests coming in 10.1.5 are really cool. Separate from the communal Time Rift events themselves, these are single-player, smaller-scale things that see Chromie sending you off into time to fix various bits of the Timeway that have been thrown out of whack by the Infinite Dragonflight attack. And from much of what we've seen, it's a really cool opportunity for the writers to have some fun with familiar faces. It's where you'll bump into mischievous young Jaina, for example, but it's also got that Bronze Dragonflight thing of, you know, to ensure everything happens the way it did and is supposed to. That obviously quite often means making sure bad things happen as they're meant to as well. So for example, in one of the quests, the timeways have gone wrong and there's some ice missing from a riverbank. We have to go back and make sure that it's there so that when teenage Arthas comes along riding Invincible one day, his horse slips just like it's supposed to and totally fails to live up to his name, breaking both his front legs just like he's supposed to, and eventually having to be put down by the young Prince of Lordaeron just like it was supposed to happen. A formulative experience which helps Arthas become Arthas. And you might be thinking, well, actually, Tally, wouldn't it be good if he didn't become Arthas? What with all the murder and stuff? Wouldn't it be better if he became a nicer Arthas with an alive horse that didn't do all the killing? Maybe we shouldn't replace all the stupid ice, Tally. And that is a good point you make there, and I can't fault you, but it's something you're going to have to take up with Nosdormu, because, you know, one true timeline and all that. The thing is, this is an interesting concept, which it's good to explore when it comes to the Bronze Dragonflight. Their work is actually really horrible and counterintuitive intuitive, and maybe the Titans are shitbags and we should chuck them in their true timeline now? I don't know. I'm not an infinite or anything. I'm just a normal man. I'm just an innocent man. I am not an infinite dragon in disguise. I'm just saying the Titans suck. Haven't you noticed how the Titans suck? There's another quest where we have to make sure that Amber Kiernan is successfully assassinated. This is not nice stuff, but it is supposedly necessary stuff. In the story, at least. So far, so good. I like it. Which brings us to the Alexstrasza quest, which Blizzard confirmed just before the weekend is being removed from the game after the strong community reaction to it on the PTR. In this quest, A Missing Soul, Chromie sends players back in time to make sure that Alexstrasza doesn't escape the Dragonmaw clan earlier than she's supposed to. Briefest of history lessons, this is from a time in Warcraft 2 where the Dragonmaw were using the Dragon Soul to control Alexstrasza and force her to breed with her consort Arthas. So, in this quest, the player character is being asked to ensure that Alexstrasza remains a victim of what we're going to refer to in this video as SA, which is obviously controversial. And so, as you can imagine, when Blizzard said that they were going to take this quest out of the game, everyone was really happy about that, especially on the forums. Because at the end of the day, if you don't care about the quest, then you're not going to care about the quest being taken out. So if it being there makes a lot of people really uncomfortable, which it obviously does, since you don't care, it doesn't matter that the quest is being... No, it was a shit show, obviously. Why? Some things you shouldn't give in for, and this was one of them. Lamau Wow, World of Pony Rainbow Craft. Grim, dark, and morally grey no longer have a place in my family-friendly murder war crime simulator. I really hate the snowflake community that WoW has now. You are afraid of a bunch of crystal adults offended by their own shadow. Sigh, we can't have nice things. Commenting for the upcoming Taliesin and Evitel video. Oh, you. No, actually, it turns out a lot of people care passionately about keeping the forced copulation quest line in the game, even though it's not yet in the game. And before anything, I want to make my stance on this very, very clear. I am completely in favor of this quest being taken out. I urged Blizzard to take it out the second I saw it. I never thought that they wouldn't take it out once the community highlighted it either, to be honest. I am sympathetic to a lot of the arguments for keeping it in, but I think there's a very specific argument in this case that means removing it was the only option. And if you are one of those people who is annoyed that they removed it for whatever reason, I would ask that you please keep a clear mind for a second and just hear me out, because I spent the whole opening part of this section saying that these quests where we help the Bronze Dragonflight ensure that bad parts of history happen are really interesting, and they are. I wouldn't suggest we remove the Arthas origin story or the Amber Kiernan assassination. Being made to feel uncomfortable by being party to uncomfortable events for what someone else assures us is a greater good is a valid topic to explore, and I can totally understand if you're thinking, well then Tally, what's the difference? Why are we okay with murder and war but not SA? Why is that suddenly off limits? Isn't it unrealistic and forced to have that specifically out and leave everything else in? And I do understand that point, but I think the important factor here for me is the context of who is making this game. Because I'm sorry, but who is making a thing can be very important when deciding if that thing is okay or not. Let me give you an example. If I was to publish a book of my favorite cocktail recipes, you might not want to buy that book, and that's fine, because in fairness, it would be quite short, just one page with whiskey sour written on it, but no one would be angry that I wrote that book. However, if Bill Cosby wrote a book like that, then it's quite likely pretty much everyone in the entire world would criticize that as wildly inappropriate, and they would be correct to. Any publisher putting out that book would deserve the backlash they would get. And similarly, there is absolutely a world where, in the hands of skilled writers, this topic is a valid and interesting one to explore in a video game, but unfortunately right now, Blizzard is not the company to do it, since they are barely a year out from one of the most disgusting and high-profile sexual harassment scandals in the history of video games, one that it still hasn't settled, by the way. And so for many people, this quest that forces the players to take part in an act like this being made by Blizz, this is the Cosby cocktail book, okay? It's like, no, sorry, Blizz does not get to do these quests right now. Despite it being a potentially interesting topic if done right, which, by the way, I really don't think the quest is, but whatever. And that's why there's this seeming contradiction of everyone being fine with the murder and the war, because say what you like about Blizz, they've never been involved in a war, murder, or culling an entire city real-life scandal. But if they had, then yeah, it would sure as be inappropriate for them to make storylines examining those topics for entertainment too. And I hope it's obvious why. No one is suggesting that we change or retcon the lore. Just that now is probably not the time for Blizz to be making the player take part in it. And maybe you still think that's a dumb reason. And fair enough, I guess. I know that for everyone who cares strongly about this, there is someone else who finds the entire noise just a bit annoying. And man, I wish I was you. That sounds really nice, actually. Just about every story that we talked about today is linked in a Wowhead article in the description below if you want to read about any of it in more detail. And you can find longer form discussions on most of this stuff on our second channel, Taliesin Evitel's second channel. Check that out too. And thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make all of our work happen. And guys, thank you, because without you, there would be a whole lot less Taliesin Evitel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. And remember, my name is Lord Sinatali. No, sorry, I am not an infinite. No, my mistake. My name is Taliesin. Just forget everything you just heard, okay?